Yo, yo,
Hey Pete,
what's up, man?
not much. How you doing?
Okay, good. We are here live. Thanks for coming in. Ladies and gents, welcome Devin Norris. Devin, thanks again for doing this with us, man. You've been one of those guys that have helped me a lot in the sync placement arena. So I figured it'd be a great conversation to have you on board, man. Thanks for coming.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Well, let's give it just a quick second to get everybody joined. Oh, well, we have a bunch of people joining, so we can probably just get started. Man, I'd love to just find out a little bit more about you. Devin's a part of Yellowtone Music. Did you start Yellowtone Music?
Yeah. Started with my wife.
Awesome. And tell me more about you. Like, what was your interest in music? How did you get started? Give us a little bit more of your background.
Yeah. So I'm a pianist at heart. Piano has always been where I started. I got my degree in jazz piano from UC Irvine. Did a lot of composition there, and then from that point, I went full steam out of college into composing and arranging string and orchestral stuff. And then deep into the sync world now. Do lots of custom work, lots of licensing. We started our company and represent artists for sync, and then do a lot of custom stuff too.
Awesome. Awesome. And would you say, like, was there a point in your life that you're like, all right, now I need to just start this same company? Like, were you getting a lot of opportunities? Did you already kind of like develop your relationships? How was that process for you?
Super interesting question. I was mostly in the composing world, and then my girlfriend at the time, wife now, she got deep into the music supervision world, and she's done amazing things. She works at Netflix now in their music department. So I've kind of learned so much from her, with her, going up through the industry, through her, connections and friends and her knowledge, and from there we started the company together. It's mostly me, and all the connections, and have turned fruitful, and we've had a great time making music for people.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of this industry, I mean, like almost every industry, is networking, right? Like, you do have to develop those relationships with different people, because it's not that easy to just get into the sync world, right? Like, even for myself, we got kind of lucky with Sherelle, which Sherelle is one of the artists that, we've landed a few placements with you. But with Sherelle, it was a little different. We got hit up because somebody found our music on a blog, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to have you on HBO," and that was kind of crazy. But that was kind of like our first step into the sync world. For somebody that's newer, that is trying to get into the sync world, do you have any recommendations for them? Is there a website? Is there a blog? Is there an event? What do you recommend?
Yeah, and talking about you and Sherelle, I mean, you guys, first of all, you guys just have such high quality music, which is really, really awesome. And that's like the very first thing that needs to happen. Always need to have high quality music to ever be considered for anything. And then, it's really female hip hop has blown up in the last, 5 years or so. And in sync, a lot of people are using it. They're using it all over the place. And then with all the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion topping the charts, people are looking for syncs, songs that are like that and similar. You guys were, that's incredible that people reached out to you. That's not a story people hear like super often, unless you're just like blowing up in like number one TikTok song in the world. But good for you guys, for sure. You guys have some really, really great music. Getting into the sync world, that's a super great question. I'd say the first thing, the most important thing, like I just said, is having super high quality music. That's nothing can even be considered unless you have like top tier radio ready music. And then after that, the first thing I think about is like doing a true inventory of what you do and who you are, and like what you're best at. And there's just so many niches in the music world, so many ways to make music, so many ways to make money, so many different opportunities out there. And so figure out where your skill set lies best, your team around you, the people you work with. Me personally, as a composer, Before I got too deep into sync early in my career, I was, I love my music specifically, chords, jazz, melodies, music theory, that kind of stuff. And the production, I can do pretty good at sometimes, but, I'm not a producer at heart. I'm a, composer at heart. And then once I started working with a few producer friends on projects that were, on projects that were a little higher tier, that's when everything started landing. Is when I started filling in some of the holes of uh, my personal skill set. So yeah, so be honest with yourself about what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then where your skills can lie and where you can do best in the world. If it's custom, you can write stuff really quickly. If it's production music, and you can make like a lot of stuff and have a good ear for underscore stuff and the kind of stuff that plays on reality TV shows under the dialogue and everything like that. Or if you love making like true artist music, what type of music and which niches can you get into that your music could fit in sync? Or if you already have music that exists, I'd say the best thing is finding companies that work well and get a lot of placements with the type of music that you make.
Gotcha. So, like I said earlier, I've had a little bit of a different journey in sync where like a lot of the opportunities we've gotten have just kind of come to us. Um, do you recommend when if you're an artist, you're trying to get into the sync world, kind of finding those different sync libraries or people that do work in the sync industry and kind of like starting to send them music? Is it something where you're like, hey, here's my whole library. I'm going to send you this whole Google Drive for you to check out. Like, how would you recommend somebody approach you? Do you just send an email out with like a few different kind of genres or things to kind of taste it? How do you getting into it?
Yeah, so I would probably suggest like doing your own research first. That's always the best thing to do, and to figure out what these libraries work in. So, like for example, a trailer library like Alibi, like they do tons of trailers and do really really amazing with that. You probably wouldn't, you'd want to know what they're looking for and like take a look at their catalog and know what they're releasing this last month or the month before and stuff like that. And so you probably, I'm sure they'll take a lot of people, if it's high quality music, they'll take lots of stuff just in case. But most people have like a wheelhouse that they really work. A lot of companies have wheelhouses that they work in, and they have clients that are asking for a lot of the same stuff. So definitely do your research and figure out which of these libraries is the best fit for you. And then past that, I'd say, you know, uh, variety is great. So, if you work with a lot of different, if, I wouldn't, unless it's a great company that you're really excited to be with, there's always opportunities that's good to, give all your music to someone. And, that could be a great place to start if it's your first time starting. But, it's also could be a good thing to have a few songs with a few different companies, see who's working well for you, who's hitting, who's landing stuff. And then, you'll really build your core of contacts and companies that you work with.
Gotcha. So, I mean, there is the difference between hitting up a sync company like Yellowtone, and then there's no, let me just go straight to Netflix or like try to get straight to Netflix, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Is that I can't even fathom, trying to find an email for somebody at Netflix and then like emailing them and be like, hey, I'm an artist. I'm trying to get some sync license. Is that a possibility? Do you recommend going that way, or do you kind of recommend more building relationships with companies like yours?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question. Hitting up supervisors directly is really, really, really difficult. Music supervisors, I've just learned so much from my wife's journey. She was the coordinator on the number two for an A-list music supervisor before she went to Netflix. And I mean, the thing is these music supervisors are, working on tons of high-level shows and placing hundreds of songs per year, if not thousands. And so there's just everyone is trying to get a hold of them, trying to get them to listen to their music. And there's really not that many music supervisors. It's a pretty small world, a couple hundred that are really working and doing great work. So these people are just inundated with emails all day, every day from anyone. From artists, from companies, from anyone just trying to get a hold of them. And so I would not recommend personally reaching out to supervisors directly. The thing is like, you have your music. So let's say you have a great pop song, but the thing is music it's a very, very stressful job, and they do a lot of like really detailed work. And so a lot of the time they're looking for really, really, really crazy specific stuff. So like, for example, a music supervisor, you might send them your like, your hip hop mixtape, which is great, but this supervisor at this exact moment is only looking for like 1970s covers of American songs in Tagalog. Like that's a real thing. We got to search for that. So like they're looking for the most obscure, like interesting stuff because they need to. And so for the normal stuff, they have their clients that they're used to working with, and so when somebody that's just a normal artist sends them music, it's a risk for them to be using somebody they don't know's music, because if this person claims to own more percentage of the songs and they don't they somebody else is a master owner, and then the song gets used on a TV show, and then somebody hits up the network and is like, hey, you didn't pay me. I own X percentage of the song, and that's a huge, huge mess, and lawyers get involved. And so they work with people they trust for the most part. So I definitely suggest working with a company. And then it's interesting you brought up networks too. So like a place like Netflix and so some of these different studios, so like Netflix, Paramount, Viacom, all these different places. Some of them, depending on the project, some of them do in-house music supervision, others don't, and then some of them will do it for some projects, and some of them won't do it for some projects. So this is not information that's available to the world. So it's such a shot in the dark, and such a tiny percentage chance that what you have and what they need is going to land. So I would always recommend working through a company.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like when you get these sync briefs, you have to like really just drop everything and try to do it because they're so rare sometimes that they come through. Uh, but I had another quick question for you. So, is there any like don'ts for when you're submitting your sync, or your music for sync? Is there anything that artists should be avoiding when they're sending something in? Anything like should somebody be sending playlists as opposed to actual files? Like things like that.
Yeah, so I'd say one super big don't send any music with samples. I know like Spotify and streaming is all really, really chill about samples and covers and stuff like that. It's really easy to upload stuff and really easy to, nobody will ever find out that you used a sample in a song, and especially if you did effects and stuff on it. But in sync, that's like a really, really, really big thing. You should, if you have samples in your song, then it cannot be used unless it's been negotiated with the sample owner, and you've negotiated the percentages that they have of the song. So that's like a really, really big no. Somebody sent me songs with samples, and that's something you should never do. Covers are really, really tough as well. I'm not saying there's never, like we've landed multiple covers, but for the most part, covers that you're shooting in the dark. The process is if you have a cover, if you make a cover of let's say a Justin Bieber song or whatever. Now, if that cover is ever going to be used on TV or film or an ad, now they need to reach out to the publishing owners of that song, and they need to negotiate with them. And so that song is probably going to be, if you know the song and it was, big enough for you to know it and cover it, it's probably going to be a lot of money to be able to use the publishing on that song, maybe $80,000, $100,000 or more. Yeah, I'm just throwing numbers out there. So it could be really, really expensive, even though, you're a small artist and you're looking for, happy with a 1K, 3K, 5K sync or something like that. So there's like very few opportunities ever in the world that song would ever get used, because if they're going to pay all that publishing for that song, they're going to pay for a real version, the real version of the song probably. So yeah, past that, let's see. You said any more don'ts to do? Oh, always have streaming links. So like, make sure that you don't have to download the song to be able to listen to it. You want to make it as easy as possible on them. One company that our world mainly works in is called Disco, and it's you upload music to it, and supervisors all use it. Every company, every sync company for the most part uses it, unless they have their own like proprietary system, like some of the really big people. It's really easy. You can just stream song really easily. You can download the MP3 or the wave. So that's, you don't have to do that. It costs money to use that every year. But just have something easy like Dropbox or Google Drive, where you know that you have the song up there, and you can stream from it. And then one more thing that I'll suggest is whenever you send music, maybe a sync company or a supervisor, if you happen to be working with them, you send them something, They take a listen, they say, this is great, I like this a lot, but there's no projects I'm working on right now that need this. Again, it's like so unlikely. Whatever you have in this moment is what they need in this moment also. And so you might want to you always need to keep those links live. So like if maybe they'll keep that email in a folder, and then like 6 months later, a year later, they'll be like, oh hey, somebody sent me some really great hip hop a year ago. Let me take a look at that. And then that link is broken now, and so that's bad. And that's happened for multiple people I know. So always keep those links live.
No, that's awesome. I kind of want to touch a little bit on like the sample side of things. You just mentioned kind of like how that's like a big no-no in a sense, or just really hard to get placed. What about things like splice samples?
That's a interesting topic. I know I'm part of a lot of the music supervisor like Facebook groups where they're all talking and asking each other where if they can find publishing owners for songs and stuff like that. And there was like a 200 comment thread of everyone giving their opinions about Splice. I mean, the thing about Splice is like, every song has them now. It's like you go on the radio or Spotify top 100, and it's going to be like so many of the songs have it. So I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, so because like I was looking into different websites where I could submit my music just to be added to the library, and like a big thing was like, hey, no samples, no splice samples. So I think there's still like a big confusion out there, at least for like younger producers, as to like whether they can use those samples or not. But definitely recommend everybody watching like try to make your own music as much as possible, so you don't have to run into that, right?
So I think Splice. Okay, I mean I can't say, but in my opinion, Splice is being more and more accepted because it's just everywhere. It's being used so much. But when I say samples, I mean like just cutting stuff up on your own and taking old songs and stuff like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. I have another question. So I don't know if you know Lamont Graves, but Lamont pushes a lot this concept of like if you're a producer, you should really be releasing instrumental tapes, right? As somebody that does sync, do you ever look at that? Is that something like you just go finding instrumental tapes so you can have it? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, so us as a company, we only represent instrumental music, and then sorry, we only represent vocal music, and then so every song does have instrumentals, obviously. So when we do get requests for instrumental music, we'll usually go through that because most of our clients are looking for vocal music or instrumental of vocal songs. Um, Instrumental tapes, I mean, then we're starting to like get on the verge of production music, which is like a totally different thing. And so, like with my type of sync company, we don't really work in production music. That's a whole different world, and you're working with like a different set of supervisors for the most part. A lot of editors for TV shows make a lot of decisions for production music, and there's tons of really amazing production music libraries out there. I mean, some of the production music libraries also do normal vocal music sync, but for my sync world specifically, we don't get requests for instrumental music a whole lot. It happens every now and then, but then when we do that, I don't keep purely instrumental songs on hand. I'll just look through instrumental versions of the vocal songs that we have. And then if you're releasing instrumental mixtapes, I would definitely try to find production music library homes for those. I'm sure there's tons that I'd be happy to, because a lot of people use, like hip hop production music is really big, and tons of shows use nothing but hip hop production music.
Nice, nice. No, that's awesome information. I had another random question. So, do you, when you're these are kind of more like maybe like your workflow as like supervisor, right? Are you ever thinking when you're listening to a song, this doesn't have enough cue points, right? Like, or this has enough, like, is that something that goes through your head when you're listening to music?
When you say cue point, do you mean like a start and a stop?
Yeah, I guess like sections, right? It's like, oh, this is great because this has this many sections, right?
Interesting. So like I'd say production music and especially trailer music, they really need like a three-act structure where they have like a full stop twice within the song. And so you have all the three acts kind of building, building, building. And there's a lot of amazing vocal music out there built in this kind of trailer format. And so they really, really expect to have those breaks in the songs. Past that for just normal music, no, I don't really. It's The best thing you can do to sync your music is like just be a normal popular artist and like have a good fan base yourself and have desirable music that people like, and then the supervisors come from there. But I know obviously everyone's already trying to do that, so it's kind of a chicken egg
Yeah.
scenario. But um but yeah.
And then what about when you're organizing? Like, I'm sure you're receiving tons of music all the time. How do you divide up your music? Are you kind of like a DJ where you're like making folders and you're like, hey, here's all of my hip hop, and then do you have like subgenres under that? Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, definitely important to stay super organized. So I do all my organization in Disco and Google Drive. I keep most of my instrumentals on Google Drive, and then Disco, I keep my normal music. So I have all my folders for artists, and then I've got some tagging, and then I make sampler playlists for different genres, and then I tag the artists under a few words just for the types of music it is. But for the most part, I know the music in our catalog. Um, I know it pretty well. I go through it quite a lot.
That's awesome. And yeah, I would just love to see one day like somebody's disco account that does sync and like seeing how they divide it up, because it's always so interesting to see how people think of even genres or like assigning like a certain artist to a certain playlist, because that's like the vibe, that you get asked about a lot. Is there like a certain playlist or something? I know we touched a little bit on like female hip hop, right? Is there like a certain thing that you're getting hit up so much lately that you're like, yo, it's going to this playlist or this genre, right?
Interesting. Let's see. What do we? When you were talking about the crazy organization, it's the music supervisors that have the really crazy organization. Because I mean, they have can't even imagine how many songs they have in their disco. So when like how disco works is a seller like me can send them playlists of music, and then they can add it to their disco. And imagine times this for how many songs coming in for every project, and so they have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of songs on their discos, and so their discos are really, really crazily organized by shows, by episodes, by everything like that. And so that is definitely a sight to behold. For me, let's see, the question of what we get a lot of requests for. It's so hinges upon one, who your clients are, who your connections are, and then two, what those clients are specifically working on. It just varies so much, and the clients, the supervisor we work with can be working on so many different types of projects. One close friend of mine, he's a supervisor. He was working on rap shit, and his next project is it's called Hotel Cocaine, and it's like only looking for 70s disco music and 70s Cuban pop kind of thing. And so he just has such insanely specific needs at any given time. But what normally does well, hip hop is usually asked for. We can never have enough hip hop and never have enough up tempo, like straight down the middle pop. It gets asked for quite a lot. Dance scenes and feel good all over the place,
Yeah,
stuff
no,
like that.
awesome, man. Thanks again for all your insight so far. I have just a few more questions to kind of like wrap on. As an artist, there's these like non-exclusive deals and exclusive deals. I'm only familiar with the non-exclusive deals. Um, do you run into any like sing houses or anybody that's like, no, we're gonna like exclusively do a deal with you? Is that normal? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I'd say most of the sync world is exclusive deals. Production music and normal artist sync music, the vast majority are exclusive. Maybe 10 years ago or so, there was a lot more non-exclusive around, but nowadays it's mostly exclusive. The thing about non-exclusive, just as an artist, so obviously as an artist, when you sign a non-exclusive deal, you're free to have your music. I think the best part about that is you can still represent your music on your own. So if, like, for example, when Sherelle had people hit her up to use her music, which is, doesn't happen very often. That's amazing. And she had signed an exclusive deal, then she would have had to do that through the company, and they would have had to take their cut, and that kind of sucks because the company didn't do anything, and she would have gotten that without the company. So that's why non-exclusive I think is cool. So you can still represent it yourself. One thing I will caution: I don't suggest giving your music to tons and tons of libraries non-exclusively, like as many as you can find. I'd say like a small core, and then try to make sure that it doesn't overlap with the clients that they have too much. Because as an artist, if music supervisors are getting your music, and they like see you represented by a bunch of different companies. It's one, confusing. Two, it's kind of sketchy. Like it's kind of weird. Like what's going on here? Why all these people? Why does this person have so many different people representing them? Why are they, all this kind of stuff. I know one time when my wife Satya was with her working in her music supervision company, she ran into this artist, and the artist was like notorious for having her music with a lot of different non-exclusive companies, or maybe a few songs with exclusive companies or whatever. And then it got really messy, and the artist is like, "No, this is non-exclusive, but I want the deal to go through me." And like the artist is hitting up the supervisor, and all it just got messy. And the supervisor just like cut the song because it was all just too messy and didn't want to deal with it all. So I'd be careful with giving your music to too many non-exclusive companies. I'd say like a core of like two or three. And what you could also do is give different songs to different companies, exclusively or non-exclusively.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think it's sync a world that seems like so mysterious for a lot of people that are still getting into music, so all this information is just super helpful. Is there, earlier you mentioned a little bit about like you're in a few different like Facebook groups for what was it, like sync music supervisors or something? Is there specific, whether it's blogs, Reddits, or anything where you think artists could go to find more of like that community and connect with them more?
That's an interesting question. Nothing really comes to mind, but as always, I just, the more research one can do, the better. It's like just look up as many sync companies and as you can. Just go down the list and look up, go down rabbit holes on Instagram and on websites, and see as many people as you can find, and see what kind of work they do, and figure out what's the best fit for you.
Awesome. No, awesome. And one very last question. Anything exciting that you're working on right now? Anything you can share that you're working on?
Yeah. Let's see. What's been lately? We one exciting one that we landed a custom project through Yellowtone for a Netflix movie that's going to be called Upcoming. No, Incoming. Incoming is the name of the movie, and it's going to be kind of a super bad vibe, high school, raunchy high school kind of vibes. So we landed the main title on that, which was a lot of fun. I think that's coming out in August. We also, let's see, outside of Yellowtone with another one of my partners, we did a rebranding of the NBC News theme for one of their regional networks, so NECN in the Pacific, no, in the Atlantic Northeast, so New England area. They have like a 24-hour news channel, and so we did all of their themes compositionally for them. Yeah, so a few things
No,
that's
it's
coming up.
sick. You just said something about the custom work. How can you maybe talk just a little bit about that? Of like, what are different experiences you've had of custom? Because I've definitely had the custom work, and it's definitely challenging. Is it with this specific one that you're talking about? Is it that you got together with the music supervisor? They kind of tell you what the vibe you're going for. You submit a bunch of different versions. How does
Yeah,
that work?
so we've done a lot of custom work through Yellowtone, and super happy to say that we've gotten a lot of our artists into custom projects. One of our biggest ones was last year, Exo Kitty, and that was a Netflix show. And we had they were looking for a Korean artist to do a remix of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So this is one of those scenarios where they'd already cleared the song. They already have the song probably in the show at some point, and now they're looking for someone to do a cover in Korean. And so we did that song, and it was kind of an EDM version of Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and that was really big. Landed on Spotify's top 100 songs in TV last year. It was an exciting one. We did something similar for a Paramount show called. So that was with one of our artists named Juju Be Good, so a Korean American artist. We did another one with an artist named Priska, and that was a Whitney Houston song in Mandarin, and that was for 11 Taipei on Paramount Plus. We did another one for Lincoln Lawyer last year on Netflix. That was Journey, Open Arms, I think the name of the song, and that one is a female mariachi band, and so that was a lot of fun. So it was like super 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 specific stuff that like nobody's ever going to find in the world. Oh, the other big one last year was the movie Megan. We did 2 custom songs for that. Oh, and so you asked how that happened. So the Megan one was we did that with one of our producers at Yellowtone and one of our songwriters that we work with, and so that was 2 fake commercials, 2 fake ads in the movie. And so like actually the very first thing you see in the movie is this like advertisement for the company in the movie. And so that was our music, and they like kind of just gave us some vibes of early 2000s commercials that they wanted the vibe of. For this one specific one, they gave us the words, and so we put it all to music. They sent us the picture, the videos, and made that all, and all made it happen really really quick in like 2 days or something, because a lot of the custom projects have super super short deadlines. And then the one for the movie that's still upcoming, that's incoming, they sent us just a song they wanted the vibe of, and they said a few kind of buzzwords. They wanted like what they want, legendary. They wanted to say legendary, and so we had to say legendary. But this one was really short; it was like 5 seconds or 6 seconds long. So
Is
that was a crazy one.
there any like horror stories you have of like somebody asking you for a custom work and you just did so many edits that you kind of drove so crazy?
Yeah, this being in the working as long as I have a pretty good nose for opportunities now. What's worth putting our time into, what's not worth putting our time into, what's worth calling favors and getting something out and working through the night, and what's not. The horror story, I guess. Yeah, there was this one other theme rebrand kind of thing we did, and they didn't pay very much money, and they asked for a theme, and we made the theme, and then they asked for 11 alt themes. And usually alt themes is like, oh, you take out the drums, oh, you take out the guitar, whatever. The alt themes didn't turn out to be alt themes. They turned out to be 11 new themes. And so we'd already landed the project, so we were like, you kind of stuck here. All the new themes, and then we found they wanted 10 cut downs of all 11 themes, and then they wanted stems, not just for every main theme, but for every cut down of every theme. And so my partner ended up having to bounce hundreds, like I think over 600 stems for this project. And it was just, they kept asking for more and more and more. And it was a situation where we were already in too deep to do anything about it. But, it happens, and we made it to the other side. So no complaints.
That sounds wild. I feel your pain. I've definitely been there. I appreciate anybody that's in the sync world, because like you said, like sometimes these turnarounds are so tight. I just got one today, and they're just like, yeah, we just need this many tracks by tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's always that kind of vibe. But I haven't really gotten any other questions. I'm gonna see if the audience here right now has any questions. Speak now or forever hold your truth. But yeah, man, it's been like a pleasure to get to know you just more, and just your journey, and the sync world is tough, but it's definitely rewarding and fun, man. And again, thanks so much for reaching out to us in the past and helping us with Sherelle. I know she really appreciates you, and she wishes she could be here today. But maybe we can get you on another call with her. I know she was kind of excited to be here, but she's in Peru right now, and she couldn't make it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't see any other questions, man. So we can wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Devin.
Thanks so much for having me.
Have a good one, man.